Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG that has taken the gaming world by storm and is the most successful single-player game on Steam, with 2.2 million concurrent players on its launch day, and after years of anticipation, it's finally out now. Today, we are going to take a journey to the West and deep dive into how the game evolved over the years of development, transforming from an ambitious concept to one of the most visually stunning games I've ever seen. In this video, we are going to explore the key milestones and the creative decisions that shaped the game's unique identity, and how the developers at Game Science refined their vision to deliver an experience that is truly remarkable, inspired by Journey to the West. Thanks to Black Myth Wukong for sponsoring this video. Black Myth Wukong is now available on PlayStation, Steam, and Epic Game Store. Confront your destiny and delve into the enchanting realm of Eastern mythology. Pick it up today via the link in the description. 4 years ago, we got our first look at Black Myth Wukong in the form of a 13-minute gameplay presentation. Not often do you have games that get this much gameplay out so early, but honestly, it was a great decision for them. This gameplay trailer immediately caught the eye of gamers for its incredible graphics and attention to detail. And the fact that this game looked as good as it did 4 years ago compared to today, the quality and attention to detail is even better now than it was in the gameplay presentation, which is a testament to the hard work and dedication from Game Science. But jumping back to the gameplay trailer itself, this is where we got our first look at the combat, which is fast-paced, but thanks to transformations and shape-shifting abilities that Wukong can do, it adds another layer of depth to the gameplay. Unlike other games, it's not just a hack and slash. It's almost like a super fast-paced chess match where you're able to do certain moves, each depending on the situation you're going up against. Now, after defeating certain bosses, you'll gain the ability to transform into that boss, kind of like queening in chess. In the trailer, you can see Wukong fighting various enemies, including monstrous creatures, armored warriors, and mystical beings. Compared to the gameplay today, the combat is just as fast-paced and fluid. Wukong uses his staff for quick and devastating attacks. He also has the ability to use his magical powers, like summoning clones, manipulating elements and objects, and even freezing enemies. There is something just so satisfying with the chaining of light attacks and dodging, and continuing that chain and eventually dealing a devastating heavy attack. Now, the thing that is the most prominent is how the environment changes throughout the combat scenes. Throughout your journey, you move from forests to ancient temples to snow-covered mountains, each with detailed textures and dynamic lighting. This game really shows the Unreal Engine 5 in all of its glory. The gameplay showcase also gave us our first look at several boss battles, which, as you know, the actual gameplay experience is just as big, if not bigger. You fight everything from giant bull-like creatures, large mystical creatures, and more. Each boss fight also has distinct attack patterns and abilities, which requires Wukong to use the combination of agility, strategy, and his variation of powers to defeat them. But what I really appreciate is how approachable this game is. The bosses aren't overly difficult, the experience is just satisfying. Like when I take down a boss, it's so exhilarating and just a really fun experience. Also, I've got to gush about the intro of this game, like Wukong jumping on the Nimbus and approaching these large celestial creatures and looking at them front and center as small as he is was just an unforgettable experience. My first thought was like, wow, this is going to be an epic first boss fight. But after the dialogue happened, I immediately realized that these guys weren't the first boss in the game, I was. It absolutely blew my mind. Wukong is a powerhouse in this fight. The choreography is timed perfectly and is one of my favorite intros to a video game since probably Uncharted 2. Now, in terms of visual and technical differences, the initial trailer featured highly detailed environments, dynamic lighting, and realistic effects. However, some of the textures and animations were still early in the stages of development. The visuals in the final experience are incredibly refined. High quality textures and even more details than before. Character models are more lifelike, and the lighting effects have been enhanced to create an immersive atmosphere. Ray tracing and other advanced rendering technologies contribute to a more realistic and polished look. Also, the game features DLSS frame generation, so for those of you with a 40 series card, the frame rate will be even better. So moving on to chapter 2 of Black Myth Wukong, during Gamescom of 2023, they revealed the offline demo of the game that was previewed by IGN, which mainly consisted of chapter 2 content. Now, this region of the game was in a desert location, and it had some of the toughest bosses that I've fought, which I won't spoil fully, but you've seen this boss before, guys, and I'm telling you, this one was a doozy. Now, with this gameplay footage from beta of last year, you kind of get the sense of the polish that the developers have worked so hard to achieve, and it was showing in 2023, but compared to the actual footage of today, somehow they made the game look even better in terms of visuals. Another thing I'd like to mention is the enemy variety in this chapter was pretty wild. You'll go from fighting electric charged enemies to the stone vanguard, which is effectively just a big stone golem, and get ready for that guy because he is pretty tough as well. It took me forever to get the pattern down, but once I got it, it was pretty easy. And on top of that, you even get to fight like a big rat type creature with a shield, which those guys are also tough as well. So you kind of have to pick your fights. Like, you can't go up against too many at the same time or you're just going to get destroyed, especially if you're near a creature that also has a ranged attack enemy that's near. You'll just be continuously peppered with arrows. Overall, the experience between the footage isn't that big because this footage once again is from 2023, but if you compare the two with the actual gameplay, you do see some subtle differences. So if you take a look at the footage on the screen right here, this is gameplay of chapter 3 from all the way back in 2021. In the footage, you could see Wukong transforming into a bat, which honestly surprised me when I was playing. A bit later on, you could see the footage of the iconic fight against the lightning dragon. And I have to say, chapter 3 really surprised me. It's probably one of the most cinematic experiences that I've had in this game so far. I mean, just look at this gameplay right here, guys. We went from flying around as a bat to realize that we are literally on top of a giant turtle. But what I find really crazy is all of the footage you're seeing is only from the first part of chapter 3. If you look at the footage at the end of the 2021 gameplay showcase, you see this area right here, which at first I thought was just a cool set piece, but it turns out in the actual gameplay, this is a fully playable area, as you can see on the screen right here. But then we get to this character, which I won't really spoil it, and this person is one of the bosses. Compared to the actual gameplay footage, this is one of the boss battles. I'm not going to show you guys much, but just look at the quality and just the overall variety. The developers have gone above and beyond with this game. It feels like there's something epic that happens at almost every turn. And that continues with chapter 4. Now, this chapter is one of my favorites in terms of the setting. The spooky factor is increased to another level. So if you like that kind of stuff, you're going to love playing this chapter. As you can see on the screen right here, this is a cutscene that we got from August of 2022. And this was our first look at these characters in the game that are central to the chapter 4 plot. In the cutscene, they're talking about bringing someone to their mother, who you'll learn about once you play the game, but you really get the sense of atmosphere in this footage. Now, this video didn't really show much in terms of chapter 4 gameplay, but having played through the entire chapter, I'm happy to report that the gameplay is even better. This is a super unique location and setting, and as I said before, it takes the game a bit darker, which I personally love. Obviously, there's spiders and other creatures, and usually whenever there's spiders, that means there's poison. So when you get to this chapter, make sure you're accounting for poison damage you'll be taking, as if you're not prepared, it can get a bit tough. The cutscene and the actual gameplay is far more polished. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything for you guys, but the boss you initially fight in this area will hit pretty close to home, as it's kind of a twist. Now, cut to a year later, Game Science and Nvidia released 8 minutes of exclusive gameplay. This video is a technical showcase emphasizing the game's use of Nvidia's RTX technology, which includes ray tracing, which enhances the visual quality, and DLSS for performance. The game, of course, runs on Unreal Engine 5, like I've said, and the footage highlights the lush, detailed environments and intense combat sequences where Wukong uses his abilities to fight various creatures, including a massive electrified dragon lizard. And the thing that I love the most about this gameplay trailer is the different look that you get at the game. The game's art direction, like the enemy design and boss designs, are all super unique. The gameplay also hinted at a deep combat system in the early footage where players will have access to numerous abilities, which helps make each encounter unique and challenging. Now, throughout my time played, when I'm fighting certain bosses, and let's say I just get stuck at a boss, as soon as I respawn, I always look at my current build and try to adjust things depending on who I'm fighting. Black Myth Wukong has a deep combat system with a wide variety of bosses, and the one from this showcase is only one of 80 distinct combat encounters. So odds are the current build that you're playing might have to be adjusted depending on the boss you're fighting. So I definitely recommend changing things up as you play. If you find yourself getting frustrated, check to see if you have the ability to craft armor or even craft weapons. If you're running into a brick wall and you can't overcome the challenge, this game allows you to also reignite your sparks, which are essentially the skill tree points you gain from leveling up. You then apply your sparks to various skill trees, so do not hesitate to respec your build as needed. I've probably done it 8 or 9, maybe even 10 times so far, and each time it has helped me progress further in the game. Now, another thing to keep in mind is your actual stance. Wukong has various stances in the game. Each stance is helpful for certain scenarios, and you can adjust your stance on the fly by using the D-pad on the controller, which honestly is really funny enough. I didn't even know that that was a stance meter on the bottom right. I thought it was something where like you pressed it and then it would unleash something. Well, it turns out that it was actually a stance meter on the bottom right. So yeah, if you take a look at your stances, you can actually switch them as needed via the D-pad. And as you level up and progress through the game, you'll unlock 3 stances, which includes the smash stance, the thrust stance, and the pillar stance. As I said before, the meter, as you perform light attacks with your staff, it will build up focus points, which are then used to unleash devastating heavy attacks. And once you fill up your focus meter, you'll be able to stagger enemies. Now, another cool tip is you can actually perform a varied combo by light attacking and then immediately going into a heavy attack, which feels pretty awesome. Now, one thing that I've seen asked quite a bit is dodging and parrying. Now, with this game being fast-paced, dodging is your best friend. It is is your thing to do so you can mitigate damage. Now, if you time a dodge perfectly, it creates a mimic, or rather just a copy, and then it just mitigates the damage. But for those of you that would like to parry, if you're just now starting off, then you're not going to be able to do that until later on in the game, where you will eventually gain a parry spell and other unique mechanics as you progress. So it's not a situation where like you immediately have everything unlocked once you start. You really just have to play the game, and then you'll unlock various things via the sparks in the skill trees. So it's very much an evolution. Like Wukong starts off not very skilled, but as you unlock everything, he starts to regain skills and abilities, becoming much stronger. Now, in terms of how you should build out Wukong, my recommendation is to focus on higher damage weapons with armor that have good bonuses. Obviously, higher rarity weapons have better stats, but your staff itself will have multiple branching results where you could craft and upgrade to improve things. Now, as for armors, they have set bonuses, which essentially means when some or all corresponding gear pieces are worn, you gain a stat buff. For example, if you have 2 pieces of the set, you will gain a different bonus compared to using a full set. So I recommend testing things out to try to min-max your build. So if you happen to be struggling, make sure you're maximizing the most out of your armor and you're not like wasting potential. The combat and gear system has depth, but in my opinion, it is very approachable. Not to mention the developers absolutely nailed the armor design. The creativity is just so insane. So huge props to them for that. Now, as you know, Black Myth Wukong is for the most part a linear experience, but what I find myself doing a lot is exploration. This game features quite a few hidden paths and secret bosses that you wouldn't get if you didn't explore. If you straight up Zerg rush the game and don't explore, you're gonna miss out on quite a few awesome moments. I personally wasn't expecting this much in terms of exploration, so I was pleasantly surprised to find so many secrets and areas. Oh, and don't forget to collect resources as well, as they will be very helpful during your journey. Black Myth Wukong's transformation from its initial reveal to its final form is nothing short of remarkable. It has blossomed into a visually stunning and mechanically intricate masterpiece, in my opinion. It truly is a testament to the capabilities of UE5, and Game Science has masterfully crafted a game that not only pays homage to the legendary tale of Journey to the West, but also pushes the boundaries of action RPGs. Every aspect of this game, from the smallest detail to the most epic encounters, showcases the dedication and passion poured into its creation. If I could describe Black Myth Wukong in one word, I would say satisfying, because it is. The visuals and story were the aspects that sparked my attention, and the combat is what kept me here. So if you're ready to confront your destiny and immerse yourself in a world where ancient myths come to life, now is the perfect time to dive in. Black Myth Wukong is now available on PlayStation, Steam, and Epic Game Store. Confront your destiny and delve into the enchanting realm of Eastern mythology. Hey guys, that's gonna wrap it up with this video. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe with your notifications turned on so you're not missing out on any future gaming news. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.